What's up with this week?
Wow, this week the work is really next level. Suddenly all the projects are coming in. So this whole week
Why?
barely had time to edit podcasts. Yeah, in software development world, it's like this law at the start of the project, start of the quarter, nobody does anything, everybody do planning at all. Suddenly at the end of the quarter, all the works are coming in. It's like, yeah.
I thought
So
the quarter planning should be already done up nicely.
yeah, you do the plan, right? So you plan at the start of the quarter, ma. Then the
Yeah.
first month, second month, everybody float around.
Past 2 weeks also
Then
quite tiring. HR, right? So
mm,
we are in the mid year review calibration process. So almost every day calibration meeting non-stop.
ah yeah, it's like
Challenging, but I think it's interesting.
overwork. I even had to bring my work home yesterday just to finish. I finished at what 10 p.m.
Yeah,
Oh,
last week also I also bring my work home
yeah.
because the whole day in office is just calibration meeting. So I don't really have time to sit down to clear some work. So sometimes come home. Yeah, lor, just need to
Okay.
juggle after the kids sleep. Like now, the kids sleep weekend. We are still working, right? Working on a podcast.
Yeah, man. I think the nature of our work is different, but same lah. We had to bring the work back home. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
what to do? Don't do work, no money.
I think, wow, it's talking about money. I think we can feel the impact of the GST increase, right? And is it next year is going to increase or is it already full fledged? I think it's still going to increase, right? I can't
What, ten
recall. I
percent?
think is it 10%? Is it going to 10? No, right? 9%, right? Is the
Nine? No,
now
not nine.
now is the
Nine.
full
Eight.
fledged already, la, 9. Ah. Yeah, wow, feeling the impact is
Okay.
really different. Like today, I go in Tapao Laksa, right?
Mm,
Yishun, the
mm.
famous Laksa.
Yes,
The
yes.
Laksa during our time, okay lah, maybe cannot like that compare lah, but yeah lah, during our time, right? Secondary school, $2.50 for the small bowl, right? Now it's like
Yeah.
$3.60, $1.10 more.
But that's still very cheap, if you think about it.
Yeah lah, think about laksa. A good laksa, yeah lah, is cheap lah. The one in Queensway near our workplace, the Queensway shopping center is like $5 for one bowl of laksa.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but I still
yeah.
prefer somewhere close to home. I think it's the
Yep. Yep.
best. Zemet Faces is all over there. He went there to eat that large, huge bowl of laksa.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Ah yeah, yeah. Feeling it. Tough work.
Yes. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Two Dads podcast. Well, today we're diving into a topic that is close to every dad's heart. I think not just, every dad's, but moms, parents, even grandparents, right? Which is balancing career, work, as well as parenthood. And I
Yeah,
think at the start of,
man.
yeah.
I think that's something we both struggle with, and I'm sure many of our listeners do too. So today we'll be
Mhm.
sharing our thoughts, tips, and stories as well.
Yeah. So I think let's kickstart, by talking about common struggles that most dads or even, mom face when trying to balance between work, fatherhood, motherhood, or even parenthood.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, do you ever feel like you're constantly torn between work and family time?
Yeah, I think couple of times. And I think especially last week I shared, right. Last week was whole week of calibration meeting, so it's pretty tough balancing it for the whole week. Of course, we know it's not continuous over a long stretch of period. It's probably just a week, and it's a seasonality, right? So
Mm.
it's pretty tough. But how do you feel about it? Have you found any ways to manage it better for yourself because you have just returned back to work a couple of months after your paternity leave?
Yeah, honestly, it's quite tough because I mean it's only been what three and a half months since my daughter
Mm-hmm.
was born,
Yep.
so still getting used to it. I mean, thanks to my wife and my mom
Mm-hmm.
who's at home constantly taking care of the child for me, so I don't have to worry during the
Ah,
time I'm at work.
yeah.
The tough part is you have to go to work, expend all of your energy, and then you come back home, right? And and it's your turn to take care of the kid because
Yeah.
to be fair, both my wife and my mom has already been taking care of the kid for
Yeah.
what whole day already, right? So I think it's not only tough in terms of time management, but I think it's tough in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the amount of energy required in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the past you just go to work, you come back home, you switch off, you relax, you go to bed, right? No, that's not the case. You
Yeah.
especially for working parents, kids grow so fast. If you miss out that part when you're home after work to interact with your kid, in the blink of an eye, they'll be all grown up. So yeah,
Yeah. Have you tried, what Robert have previously taught us, breath work before you come back home is to
uh,
switch the mode, right? To from a full
you
time career worker into a father and entering the house,
you
stripping off
mean
the
you mean
arms.
stay in the car for 30 minutes before going back home? No, I don't have the luxury of that 30 minutes in the car anymore, right? So once I'm home, I have to head back up. So otherwise, like I said, not much time to spend with my kid. So
Yeah.
I mean, if the day is quite stressful, of course, I think I
Hmm.
I do the relaxing part in on my drive back home.
Yeah. How do you do that?
I mean, I just listen to podcasts, listen to what
Listen to the
videos on
Two Dads
YouTube.
podcast.
Yeah, listen. So yeah, I just listen to YouTube. Just catch up on whatever I'm
Mm.
interested in. Cars. Yeah, something to wind myself down after work. So
Wow.
yeah, that half an hour drive is like my me time. So
Why
that's
do
how
you
I feel.
think balancing work and fatherhood, and even like in today's context, right? Parenthood is a universal struggle. I think back in our parents' day, most of the time is balancing work and fatherhood because a lot
Yep.
of moms are actually stay-home moms, right? Like my mom
Mm,
back then, when I was growing up, she is a full-time housewife, staying home, taking care of me, my brother. But look around today, a lot of moms are out there in the workforce as well, and
yep.
it's equal opportunity. Not necessarily dad must be out. And I know of folks who are stay-home dads, full-time,
Yep.
being at home. But why do you think balancing work and maybe parenthood, is a universal struggle?
I'm not sure about it being a universal struggle, but I think it will be a struggle if your country you live in is super expensive. I mean, we're just talking about it, right? GST increase.
Yeah.
I mean, even though Singapore's tax is not that high compared to the rest of the world, right? But Singapore is still one
Mm-hmm.
of the most expensive places to live. Right? Houses are crazy expensive. Food is increasing. Yeah, everything from
Insurance
living.
as well.
Yes, insurance as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that kind of forces the both parents to go to work to support the family, and it's a struggle to balance it because now both parents are at work. You have either have to
Mm-hmm.
look for your in-laws or your parents to take care of the child, or you look for daycare, which is more expenditure.
Yeah.
So which means you have to work harder to get more money to
Yeah.
cover that.
I
So yeah,
agree.
and when you are working already and to make a certain amount of income, the, the time that is meant for the kid is taken away, and
Mm-hmm.
the precious amount of time you have left after the day, yeah, that's all you have with the kid. So yeah, balance is a
Yeah,
struggle right
and
now.
both my kids sleep pretty early, right? I think I shared in earlier episode.
Ah,
What my
yeah.
weekdays, typical weekdays, 7:30 for the youngest,
Hmm,
8 to 8:15 for the older one, and typically when I end work, traveling back home, usually I'll go to my in-laws' place to pick my kids because my in-law will help to fetch them from school, so they will settle their dinner at their place. But coming home, we typically reach home about after fetching them 6:30, 6:45. They shower and it's 7. There's only
yep,
30 minutes left with the youngest. And
yep.
after the youngest sleep, my older one will typically have his supper or snack, yeah, drink some milk, and read a book or two. That's it for the night.
Mm,
Yeah, and really the time spent with them is so short every weekdays, right? So that's why
mm,
weekend we really give a lot of time and energy to them, even though it's tiring, exhausting because typically Monday to Friday you are fighting war at work.
Yep. Yep.
Depending on your work, can be stressful, right? So you
Hmm.
would like to wind down on maybe weekend, relax. But no,
No.
for parents,
No.
there's no time to
No
relax.
such thing.
If there's a parents who, if this out there is that there is any parent relaxing on weekends and not uh,
Yeah,
expending their
playing with the
energy
child.
and time
Yeah.
for a child, right? Something is wrong, lah. I feel.
Yes. Yes. So I
Yeah.
think in those previous podcasts, I was like sharing, I no longer have time to do whatever I like. I used to like playing video games, watching movies, stuff like this. Yeah, I haven't. I'm not sure if I even turned my PC on the last few weeks, months, right? Apart
you
from
can you
doing
can sell it.
administrative stuff. No.
What? You're not going to
No.
use it. When are you going to use it?
Ah,
If you're going to plan for a second child, right? So you're going to restart this whole process. If you're going to have a 2 years gap for your second one, you're going to restart this process that you're doing now 2 years later. So
I
what
still need
makes you think
something
that
to
3 years later you got time to play your PC? No, you wouldn't, because you're gonna restart the process of your parenting with a younger one.
ah,
Plus you got an older one to take care, and yeah,
true,
how?
true.
You tell me how.
Well, I still need something to edit the podcast on.
Uh, your MacBook works.
uh, so yeah, that's what I'm down with, just the MacBook now. So yeah, and actually, you had your kids during the pandemic, right? So I
Yeah,
guess you kind of enjoyed some of the reprieve of the pandemic, right? Because you get to spend
yeah,
time with your kids the whole day.
yeah,
So and then after that, you had to adjust to work,
yep,
working in the office. Both are working, right? You and your wife.
yep. Both of us are working.
Yeah. So how do you actually manage that? That I'm very curious because my wife is about to start
Yeah,
her work soon, so we'll both be working as well.
I think at the start, I mean, for my older child, he was born during the whole COVID lockdown period, right? So that period of time, nobody can go office because unless due to your work exigencies, you are, someone who deems that you can work outside.
Mm,
Everybody need to stay home.
mm,
So we stay home for that whole period and taking care of, our older child back then. Back I think he's only like 6 months old. Uh, it's interesting because it gave us the time to really spend a lot of time understanding how he grow. So typically, mom during the maternity leave, 4 months, they spend a lot of time with them during the day because that most of the time we are back in the workforce right after our paternity. But that gives us an opportunity to see a lot of developmental change, balancing between our work because both of us are working from home. She ended her maternity, and then my child is already 6 months old back then, 6 to 8 months, that whole period. Uh, we try to deconflict our meetings because sometimes if really can't,
mm,
not possible, because my in-law stays nearby. My mother-in-law would come by to help for that 1 hour if let's say my wife and I we have conflicts in our meetings. If not, we'll try to deconflict our virtual meetings, making sure that we can assist to take care. And at that age, 3 months old typically, yeah, you still feel that they need a lot of attention. But when they're about 6 months, 8 months, right, they already start to learn about the environment, so it's easier to take care in a sense, right? So when we are doing meetings, sometimes I'll just put him with me, and he can entertain the whole meetings with my other colleagues and peers. So that's what we did.
mm,
It helped a lot, but when it starts to return back to work from office, there's no longer full work from home. I think getting help and support is very important. So we have two choice. I mean, we have three choices, right? And I think there are a lot more options out there. First is to hire a helper coming to your house and help to take care. But I think we have been through that in our early episodes. We may not be
no,
comfortable with that. Second option is going to infant care, and I think we also been through that, and a lot of young parents and probably also face that kind of similar challenge. There is no infant care available, and the waiting list is 1 year. It's not possible to send my kids to infant care unless you go to the premium private one, which costs
mm,
you $2,000 a month.
yep.
Not feasible. So last one is getting help from either parents or in-laws. Both my parents are working, so not possible. Hence, my mother-in-law, is available. She, gladly helped to assist us. And during times where because I think that's the hybrid, right? We can work 3 days in
Mm.
office, 2 days from home. So during work from home, typically we will try to uh, put our put our kids with us while we work from home, unless we know that during that day there's a lot of intense work. We need to do a lot of creative thinking, data grinding, or even a lot of meetings. Then no choice, we will seek help from our in-laws and help to take care. And I think that's how we try to balance and juggle in how we manage, being parents at the same time being work professionals. uh,
Mm.
and sorry to say, the recent, if you saw the recent news about, the big hoo-ha about Starbucks CEO, do you know about it?
No.
I think he went
Yeah.
online to say that, anything after six, if anybody reach out to him, making sure that, there's a high bar for that questions. And I'm not sure, but he eventually got fired. So it may be because of that reason that he has caused a lot of big hoo-ha online. But for me, I think I have sick blessings from my, my managers, my employer, that
Mm.
I need to leave at a certain timing from
Mm.
office. If I'm work from office, right, or even working from home, I need to go offline at a certain timing because I want to keep a sacred time slot for my child, for my
Mm.
kids, for my family. Pick
Mm.
them, eat with them, um, be engaged with them, and I can continue work, which is what happens to you, right? In the past week, say you
Yeah.
continue work until 9 p.m. Same for me. When I leave my office after calibration meeting recently, I left at the latest was 7, but in between I end at 5:30. Typically, I go work early. I will leave early, so I will
Mm.
leave at between 5:30 to go and pick my kids. Thereafter, if I need to continue working, yeah, by all means, my kids sleeps at 8:30. If typically I will do workout after 8:30, right?
Yep.
But sometimes there's work required that no choice. I need to skip my workout. Yeah, I will focus on work for the next 1 to 2 hours, try to complete some of my overdue or outstanding tasks, and that's how I do it. But that period when I'm at home, my kids are awake, I'll try not to do work. I will try. Of course, there are sometimes urgent cases, especially in HR, you need to do payroll stuff, right? Then no
Mm.
choice, I will seek my wife to assist. And we try to play this kind of helping each other out. It's not say that, hey, you are dad or your mom is your duty, but we try to arrange. Like my wife, she's entering to her last week of career. She has a lot of farewell dinner in the last
Mm.
couple of days. So she goes for her farewell dinner at night, and I'll settle the kids in the evening. No
Mm.
issues. We try to make that arrangement between us. Yeah, and I think that's how we juggle between um, being work professionals and also making sure that
Mm.
we keep our time with our family secret. Yeah.
So actually curious, in the day, who looks after the kid? What's your current solution right now?
Right now, right now they're in childcare. The both of them are old enough. So my youngest is already 2 years. So
Okay.
18 months you can already go to childcare. And
Mm. Mm.
some parents like to do home-based learning. I mean, there's no
Mm.
right or wrong. It depends on your preference. Some people say, hey, it's so sad to start to send your child to infant care at 4 months old. So my first
Mm.
child, like I shared, right, we didn't go to infant care because my mother-in-law can help assist us. But when our second child came about, right, um, we realized that it's no longer possible, and then we only have two options: helper or infant care. And we decided just go for infant care, even though my mom was saying, "Hey, it's so sad. He's only 4 months old, and then go send him to infant care." Then my question that I rebut back to my mom is, "You want to help me take care?" Because yeah, we have no other choice. It's not like we have a choice, right? If we have a choice, we will not send. But yeah, it really helped us at the initial stage. He goes to infant care, and I think it also helps to transit him to childcare eventually, because
Mm.
typically if you only start to send your child to childcare at 18 months, right? It's a foreign thing, they are not understanding, and typically you will spend that first 2 weeks or even 4 weeks to adjust. They'll cry every day because this is the foreign place, my dad is going to drop me off already. But our youngest son, 4 months old, already started that whole process. He understands it already. Yeah, so it's easier.
Mm.
There's no challenge. And typically they will say that, oh, your child first day in childcare, let's parents can sit in for half a day to help them transit. Our second one just throw him inside. I don't care, he'll go childcare because he's already infant care from 4 to 18 months. So when he transits,
Ah,
okay, don't need us. Yeah.
okay. The boundaries part was quite interesting for me because I
Mm,
think I think that's quite a challenge for most people,
yeah.
right? So you mentioned setting up clear boundaries. 5 o'clock. I need to leave the office. There's
Not,
sacred time
not
for.
die die lah. Yeah. So
I
it really
mean, yes,
depends
of course.
because sometimes I have meetings that overran to 5:30,
Yep.
5:45. I'll just drop my wife a text to say that, hey, I'll be late. Maybe could you help to settle the kids for the evening first, and I'll try to rush back after my meeting
Mm,
ends.
mm,
Yeah. So it really case by case, not really say on the dot five. If I don't have any
yep.
meetings after 5:30, right? Yeah, typically I'll try to finish my work by 5:15 or 5:20. I'll try to leave. Yeah. If I have meetings,
Mm,
then no choice. I'll still, be there to assist, but I'll try to work my meetings between, 8:30 to 5, so that everybody will not touch this kind time that I have kept for my family. But if really no choice, have to because of conflicting schedules and calendar couldn't
yep.
find common time slots, then by all means, I'm okay with that. Yeah, and yeah.
I guess the tough part comes when managers or leaders in the
Mm,
company are not so understanding, right? So some
mm,
of them really demand overtime from you.
yeah.
And assuming you're not the kind of person who leaves work until the last minute, lah, right? So
Mm.
yeah, in that case, I'm not sure. You're in HR, maybe you have more experience than me in this matter. What do you suggest? Is a good way to go about it, right?
I,
So
I
sometimes
really think it
boundaries.
depends. It really depends
Mm,
on managers, because I know that different managers have different kind of practices. Uh, I think some managers, they are good. And fortunately, right, my current manager and my previous workplace manager, right,
mm,
before that I'm in social service sector. My previous manager is also quite understanding.
mm,
He understands that I have kids to fetch, and he grant me that kind of flexibility to go. And of course, there are certain times I need to attend committee meetings with the
mm,
board. I stay on late, but typically those are online. So I'll come home, settle my kids a little bit. Sometimes they're still awake. I've no choice. I told my wife, can you help to settle? I need to
mm,
attend
mm,
this
mm,
online meeting with the board. Yeah, so no choice. We juggle that. But for managers, it really depends. And I think there's a lot of engagement surveys out there recently rolled out by different companies, right? Of course, engagement surveys is not rolled out just for the sake of rolling out to tell people, oh, we're trying to gather inputs and hear from you, but end up there's no action taken. Then what's the point?
mm,
What's the purpose, right? So a lot of time, engagement surveys give us oversight and questions. Most of the engagement survey ask questions like, what is your work-life balance? How would you rate your work-life balance? Does your manager support you in your development, giving you enough time to go for your vacation and whatnot? So I think these are really good indicator to show how well the company is valuing all this. Um, of course, not a lot of companies sees values in that, and I think it's important because first and foremost, we are all human by nature, right? We are a son, we are a daughter of someone else, we are a parent of somebody else as well, and we need to acknowledge that. I think it's very important. Our bosses are also human; they have their families. Of
yep.
course, some of them can say that, but they don't care. They work at OT every time, 12 hours a
Yeah.
day. Then that's their problem, lah. I mean, I'll say that, like, if
I,
they don't value their family. I mean, maybe if they work 12 hours, they still got time to spend time with their family. We don't know. Yeah, but there are some people out there who really go all out and spend no time with family. But the end of the day, you'll see that a lot of things they miss a lot of things in their developments of their kids, and
mm,
that's pretty sad because I think you don't want to miss out. Eventually, imagine your kids going to go for graduation concert in kindergarten. You can't be there.
yep.
It's pretty sad, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to be there if my kids graduate from kindergarten, and these are the milestones I want to be set aside. And
Mm,
thank goodness, there's childcare leave, there's family care leave in my organization, and I make use of these childcare leave every time my kid got school closures, I'll take childcare leave to be with them. And typically, these childcare leave, we spend time to really go out. Yeah, it can be just a day trip to JB across the causeway or even going some indoor playground in Singapore. Yeah.
Hmm.
So these are things I've done. But it's not easy lah. Yeah. But having the boundary is important. If not, you feel that end up you feel like burning out. Work so much, work so hard. Then after that, you feel that end of the day, so what? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge with people these days. Everybody's focusing on the financial side of
Mm.
matters. But yeah, certain things you can't really put a dollar or value on it.
So for yourself, how do you enforce this boundary then? Yeah, you just started back and after how many weeks is a paternity again? Four. Okay, my bad. Two weeks of paternity was during my back in my days, right? Not say very far lah, 2 years ago lah. Yeah, yours is 4 weeks, and I think you have heard government has given
Hmm.
additional. Right. Recently, our Prime Minister
Yeah,
Lawrence
next year.
Wong he shared in National Day rally. Wow, when I heard about that, it's like there's so much things helping parents and
Hmm.
especially father. Starting off, fathers only have 2 weeks of paternity leave, and the shared parental is sharing from your wife's maternity leave.
Yep.
Yeah, so my wife, I think she shared with me once because that period of time she was working from home. I think she gave me 1 week. Thereafter, I didn't take any shared parental leave from her anymore. Uh, but subsequently, when my second child came, I only have 2 weeks or so, and I feel that
Hmm.
wow, very fast. And even for yourself, 4 weeks is very fast, right?
Yep.
And right now, you see, government is giving, and the 4 weeks actually is not mandatory. Some companies have not started the 4 weeks; they are still doing 2 weeks because the other 2 weeks is voluntary from
Yes.
company. And if the company adopt it, right, government will reimburse. But now
Yep.
it's gonna be mandatory 4 weeks for all
Yep.
fathers, which is I think is very good news because it's like telling all fathers, hey, you got 1 month, take your 1 month, spend time with your kid
Yes.
because your newborn needs you, your wife needs you for the whole recovery during the confinement period.
Yep.
On top of that, 10 additional weeks of shared parental leave, right? Default 5 5. 5 to wife, 5 to the husband, starting with 3 3
Hmm.
next year first, then eventually 5 5. And by the time you say you want to aim for number two, 2 years later, right? You got 4 weeks plus 5 weeks, you got 9 weeks of paternity and parental leave. Wow. What do you
Yeah, I
have to
mean,
say? Because
for okay, so boundaries for that portion. I guess for myself, like you, go
Mhm.
if I arrive in the office early, then I will just leave early. I still meet my obligation, right? 8 hours working, of course, not including lunch. So and I try to leave on the dot. So and if I really need to OT, then I'll just bring my laptop home and I'll just work from home. And the good thing is because I'm a software engineer, I can do my work
Mm.
as long as I have my laptop and an internet
Yeah.
connection. So I guess that's how I
Okay,
do it.
so I'm a HR. I can do my work anywhere with my laptop. So I don't need to be in office. Yeah, but
Yeah,
of
you
course,
just need a phone call.
sometimes human relations, right? You need to be in office.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how I do it. Um, as and of course, make sure my work does not get
Mm.
impacted by in terms of the quality, lah, right? As for the leave,
Mm-hmm.
hmm, I think the 4 weeks mandatory leave is really good because yeah,
Enough or not?
no, obviously not, right? So
That government hurt you. Government gave you 5 more weeks already. So you now nine
But
weeks.
but after that 4 weeks, it's not mandatory, right? It's voluntary.
No, no, no. Shared parental leave.
I mean, the shared parental leave is only if your spouse, which is the wife, is employed lah. So in my
Mm.
situation, her contract ended, so I was not entitled to shared parental
But
leave.
2 years later, you'll be entitled already. Ma. And
Again,
the new shared parental leave, right, is not sharing from your wife's maternity anymore. Leh. My days, yes, we are taking the leave from the
yes,
mother's
yeah,
maternity to give it to the
yeah,
father. But the new scheme,
yes,
untouchable. 16 weeks to the mom, 4 weeks to the dad, cannot be touched. On top of that, right, is five default 5 each. If you don't want the 5 weeks, right, give your wife. Your wife will have 10 weeks plus 16, and that's 26
yeah.
weeks. Yeah.
Yep. So I think it's really good because in my experience, dads usually have 1 month of paternity leave, and that is like barely enough to get to cover your wife's recovery, right?
Mm,
So that is assuming nothing goes wrong. Whereas in my case, my wife had to go for an additional surgery, which
yep.
extended her recovery time to 2 months. So can you imagine? I had to go back to work
Yeah.
one
I
month.
heard about it from you.
Yeah, and so pregnancy is not a simple thing, right? Complications
Mm,
do happen, and it's very common. Just to give 1 month is barely enough to cover that portion, and that I haven't started talking about bonding with the kid, helping your wife out with the kid, and all those things lah. So yeah, I think it's great. I think it's crucial that dads play a bigger role in the initial stages of the child's development. And yeah, I think the kids grow fastest in the first few months. So
yeah.
I'm quite glad lah, that the government is doing something to opportunity to
What about
be there.
childcare leave? Do you think childcare leave is sufficient for 6 days? Because I'm gonna tell you, you eventually you will send your kids to childcare, right? Your daughter will go to
Yep,
childcare, right? So
yep,
you know childcare, most childcare have 6 days of school closure every year.
yep.
So I ask you,
So
so if
mm,
6 days of school closure, how are you gonna use your?
annually,
I mean, so some parents, right, they balance law because there's 6 days of school closure, right? Okay,
yep.
mom take 3 days of childcare leave, that take three
Okay.
days. So it's balancing now. Then they still have
Yeah.
spare 3 day each, right? For unforeseen circumstances, maybe say they fall ill. And you know that once your kids go childcare, chances of them getting sick is very, very
Yeah, it's very
high,
high.
right?
Yeah, it
They'll get
is. Yeah.
flu, they get cough. So do you think 6 days is sufficient? Because for me, not enough lah. And thank goodness, company got family care leave, so I have 3 more days. So they give me 9 days, right? 9 days,
Yep.
I still feel not sufficient because you have vaccination. You need to say bring your kids for vaccination, and vaccination is not just nice timing. They time with the school closure. No, because it's based on the polyclinic availability and appointment. And then you have the milestone check. Your 6 month milestone, 10 month, all these milestone check. You need to take leave to go because it's funny to because when I go for these milestone checks, right, I have seen baby going not with the parents. It's the confinement nanny bring. They was like, why? What? The milestone not important to you, man. You don't want to know. Then got one even best.
Uh,
Go for the milestone checking, right? I saw this that I tell you, I saw this that one time. I think the kid is probably same as my youngest. That time we were there, so he was quite impatient on the phone all along. Then the daughter was like running around. He's like, "Hey, come back! Hey, come back!" But the eye still on the phone. After that, right, he finished all the check already, right? So you typically vaccination finish, take the highway finish. You need to wait for doctor consultation. So he's like so impatient waiting, then calling the mom saying, "Hey, still waiting, very long ah. Hey, typically, usually wait how long?" Then I think don't know the mom or the wife say maybe about 45 minutes. Huh? So long? 45 minutes too much wait ah. After he called the nurse, say, hey, the consultation important or not? Not important, then I go. Then after that, call back the wife or the mom, say, hey, the nurse not important lah, then I go lah. I don't need to see doctor lah. It's like, oh, you don't care about your daughter's development, don't wanna find out, what's the issue. And there's generally no concern, it's just concern is only on the mobile phone and it's
that's
so
the
funny lah.
that's the boundaries thing that we were talking about, right? Is that you're not setting clear
Yeah.
boundaries between what is your work, or maybe in this case, whatever is on his phone, and the kid's development. So
Mm.
that's more than a leave issue. Of course, if you take leave, then you do not have to worry about work,
Yeah.
and it's more official, right? Then nobody will touch you. That being said, of course, some people still do contact you, but those edge
Mm.
cases aside, of course, leaves will never be enough. Unless you work for a company that gives you unlimited leaves. There are companies like that. So
Yeah.
I guess we have to make do with
Yep.
whatever leaves we have lah. I think in the past, I don't really use up my leaves by the end of the year. I always have leftovers. I guess now is a good time to use it now for my kid.
I always have leftover too because I think the past few years lockdown. borders lockdown, nobody are flying, right? So that
Yep.
first 2 year, 2020 to
Oh yeah.
2022, yeah, I have
Yep.
a lot of leave to roll over. And most of the time I take leave is, just spending time with family, with my wife, my kid. But
Yep.
now
Yep.
that border has opened up and you have seen trend, because I'm in HR space, right? I see trend.
Mm.
More and more people are, using up a lot of leave because borders are opening, they're flying, they're spending time with
Mm.
their loved ones. Yeah. And talking about leave, parental leaves, right? Do you think taking parental leave or even childcare leave impacts your career? Because, some people,
Ah.
I'm in the HR space for so many
Stereo-
years, right?
Stereotype.
Yeah, there are stereotypes that to say that, hey, this person is on 4 months of maternity leave. Why are we going to give this person a grade or B grade for the performance review? Why should we be promoting this person? Of course, that being said, right, I still see, I have network and connection that I know of, right? Some people go for maternity leave, come back, get promoted. There are cases.
Yep.
But
Yep.
a lot of times we have that stereotype, right? That typically there's a unspoken policy to say that by default, if you go for paternity leave, your review for the year is B.
Uh,
You just meet expectation. Do you think
and that's
it
okay.
will impact?
So okay. So meet expectations, I would say, are those who already have sort of an understanding manager or leader. Some would
Mm,
straight away impact your performance, maybe give you B minus or C. So
mm,
but it's super unfair, right? So maternity leaves, I think yeah, I do see that, women, they face this challenge because they are the ones carrying the baby. They are the ones that have to go through the recovery, and they are the ones who have to take a step back from the workforce for an extended period
mm,
of time, right? So I think it's super unfair that employers they take that into your performance account. Performance review.
yeah,
It should be an isolated situation, and their performance should be assessed based on their performance in the office when they are working, right, and not on
yeah,
the defense. That being said, some people are just downright nasty lah. So
yeah,
if you ask me whether it impacts your career for men, unfortunately, I don't think it really impacts
yeah,
our career. But the reality is, I think it impacts women's career more, right?
yeah,
So of course we do what we can to try to change that if we are in positions of
yeah.
power, or so to speak.
Hmm.
Then we be fair, right? Try
Yeah.
try to be fair.
I think
uh
managers have a lot of power in their hands because typically
yes.
managers are the one that give the performance review and assessment to the direct reports, right? And I'm going to balance this view and perspective that we have
Mm,
just shared, right? That it can be nasty and unfair at the same time because we need to put on the hats and the shoes of an organization point of view that it's effectively the person, if let's say timely it's 4 months in a year, right? That
yeah.
means that you have like 8 months
Mm,
of work. And yes, to be fair, everyone should be accessed on the 12 calendar months for their work performance. Yeah, but we cannot discount the fact that if that 8 months the person do contribute, the person should be graded fairly. But that being said, if you look at overall the 4 months, if because sometimes there's a mid-year review. If you go for
yep.
maternity,
Yep.
let's say January, like my first born in January, right? January to
Yep.
April, and just nice your mid-year review is on um, June. So it becomes
Mm,
challenging for managers to assess someone who only has 2 months of work for the first half of the year because
mm,
2 months very hard to gauge performance. And to be fair, then there will be certain things to discuss, but objectively lah, the managers have to grade
exactly.
and
Yeah.
assess objectively 2 months what have you contribute. But looking at the whole totality, of course, that being said, the person will share, I am unable to give you certain grade, higher grade
Mm,
because it's it's very hard to justify you exceeding expectation just for 2 months of work where everybody else has been in the space for 6 months contributing and really hitting
yep.
and going above beyond. Then we'll give them. So that
Mm.
has been to be explained very 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 clearly. And managers are not well trained in a lot of organizations because typically what manager will say, you're on maternity ma, I cannot give you the
That's
grade.
the worst reason.
Yeah, that's the worst reason because managers are not well trained. And Yeah, and I can see that there's a lot of more managers training and leadership training being uh, done in a lot of organization to beef up their managers so that they are able to hold better performance conversations and discussions with their direct reports. Yeah,
Yep.
and yeah.
Yeah, I think in light of this, right, it's good. It's a good move by the government to give fathers
Mm-hmm.
more leave, so that they can balance out that burden on their spouse. So
Yeah.
it would be great if they give fathers 4 months as well.
Hi. You know Denmark, right? Sorry, you know Norway. Norway, how
Yes, yes,
the
yes. 1 year, if I'm not mistaken. Like, and
yeah,
an additional how many months after that shared between the parents. So I think that's
yeah.
great. It's a
I
more
mean, we have a contact from Norway, right? Someone we know of.
yes,
He's a dad in Norway, so we probably could
yeah,
find out from him. And if we could one day invite him to our podcast, I would very much love to hear from him also. You
yes, yes.
know.
So yeah, I guess people should treat this in a more human manner rather than treating people as another piece of the organization. Like a tool in the
Hmm.
organization. Yeah, unfortunately, it's still a long way to go for this to change, lah. So
I mean that there are a lot of initiatives and change, and we can see a lot of companies are taking up more people-centric approach in a
mm,
lot of people practices, which is why you can see the trend is shifting away from calling their department human resources, because it
yep,
felt like it's a very transactional kind of
yes,
relation. Human resource is just here, and typically when people think of human resource, they think of that kind of a custodian of policies, disciplinarian, a discipline
mm,
master, discipline mistress coming to go around policing. Say, hey, why are you doing this in office? Why are you coming late? Sitting at the front door, making sure everybody come on time at 9. That kind, but it's no longer that kind of approach. A lot of companies are going towards more outcome approach, and
yep,
there's I mean, back in the days, if you are working from 9 to 6, right, your boss must make sure you come in at 9 on the dot, or even earlier.
yep,
Sometimes they say that
yep,
if you start work at 9, you jolly well come in at 8:30, that kind of thing. And if you leave at 6 on the dot, means you are not doing putting enough effort, and which is what you said earlier on, right? You leave on the dot, right? And a lot of people are
yes,
guilty of that. They are scared to leave on the dot. And I heard stories from even your company, right? Because I have connections in the HR folks
yep,
in your company. Not sharing what company, but they say that the HR don't dare to leave on the dot. I was like,
oh yep,
why? I say,
yep,
if I'm going to work in your company, I will just leave on the dot. I don't care. If the manager is going to ask me why, I say, I have life. Lah. You don't have life. Ah.
mm.
Of course, now I say like that. Maybe I go there, I won't say like that. Lah.
I
Yeah.
I will not respond to that.
Yeah. But I make this very clear to my team. I say that if you need to leave at 5:30 because of certain things, then plan your time ahead. You can come at 8:30, leave at 5:30, and I don't expect my team to OT. And my team has that very clear understanding. My current company, even my previous company, and even two companies back, right, when I was working, my direct reports know very clearly I will leave on the dot. And I tell them that if you don't have anything, don't stay on, because you are not staying on for the extra 10 to 15 minutes. What more can you do? If you tell me that it's urgent, you need to close certain things, yeah, carry on. But I want them to focus on also their because some of them have families as well. And I know that
Yep,
if you end at 6, you don't want to go and pick your kids. It's gonna be challenging. So I think I'm a strong advocate for that.
yep,
But of course, I still stay contactable after 6. I'm not saying that after 6, after
yeah,
5:30, I
exactly.
knock off. I off my notification. No, my notification is still on, and I
Yep,
respond. My notification will only turn off at night about 10:30,
yes,
which is the time I go to sleep, because I wake up early, I sleep early, and
yeah.
that is
I
the time I off my notification. Yeah.
I think the prerequisite of living on time is to make sure that your work is of good quality, such
Yep.
that no one can question you leaving on time, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you are able to prove to your manager or to your boss that, hey, I come on time, I leave on time, the work that I produce is no worse than anyone else who maybe works and stays OT, works OT and stays
Mix
OT.
expectation lah. Basically, just you just need to meet the expectation of your
Yes,
role.
meet the
Yeah.
expectations or exceed it if you can, right? So
Of course,
yeah,
exceeding expectation.
so
Okay,
So
who?
yeah, if you want to do that, make sure that your work is quality is unquestionable. Then I think yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So now it's time for our advice segment. So, CK, what advice would you give to other dads or even moms out there struggling with work life balance?
Ah, I think don't be too hard on yourself. So no one is perfect. It's okay to not be perfect, right? Yeah, work all this. You just take it as it comes, and we just do the
Mhm.
best in what and do the best and do what we can. What about you?
I think quality time with family matters a lot more than quantity. Uh, you can be loyal to a company. I think bear in mind this thing, right? As an employee,
Yes,
you can be loyal to the company, but take a look at what
they were loyal
loyalty
to you.
gives you. If you recall, in the last 1.5 year or even 2 years, a lot of big organization lay off, and the layoff even they are good. I'm gonna not gonna name which companies, right? But if you read the news enough, right, famous company lay off, right? And is not even going through a very people centric approach. It's like you
Yep.
receive an email, bam, next day your card access cannot even enter the company. Your email get locked with immediate effect. Talking
Yes.
about loyalty, these people have served in the company being loyal employees for many, many years. But loyalty doesn't give you anything. So I think important is really knowing what is your responsibility as an employee, fulfill your responsibility, meet expectation, and like what you say, if you can go above and beyond, don't just stay status quo and say, okay, I meet expectation, then yeah, that's it. But I think it's always making sure that you produce what is quality and good outcome at work, at back at home, produce that kind of quality, same thing for your family. Make the most of the moment you have. And I think after speaking with Rob in our earliest episode, right, I
Yes.
have tried very, very my best to not have screen time in front of my kids. Because like what I share, right, when I pick my kids 6 to 6:30, that small time space, right, is really for family. So I think quality time is very important. Quantity is you can spend quality quantity time. That 1 hour is quantity, right? But there's no
Yep.
quality because I'm on my phone. Yeah. So I think quality in both work and both family is important. You need to treat it with equal balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's a wrap for today's episode. And we hope our experiences and some sharings have been helpful for all parents out there.
Yeah, and remember, finding balance is a journey, not a destination. Keep striving and don't forget to prioritize what matters the most.
Yeah, thanks for tuning into the Two Dads podcast. And remember to follow us on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. And we will see you again for another episode soon. Thank you.